Introducing the Age of the Useful Infidel. This article argues that the long-standing political term, useful idiot, needs updating to useful infidel to reflect cultural changes in the UK and the Western world. Traditionally, it has been used polemically to describe people, mainly in liberal progressive democracies, who are unwitting pawns manipulated by totalitarians, tyrants, or other oppressive ideologies with values foreign to their own. Through their support, they give moral legitimacy to ideological systems whose principles oppose the very liberal freedoms they purport to uphold. Though the phrase is often attributed to Vladimir Lenin, no actual documentary evidence exists that he uttered those words. However, that hardly matters, as the Soviets understood that revolutionary movements have always been contingent upon the manipulation of sympathetic outsiders who work to soften public resistance without grasping the true nature of the cause they defend. Their role is to present a soft, friendly face to a system that hides a dark, dangerous reality. These misguided supporters were never hard to find. They came from all walks of life: writers, professors, clergy, journalists, and politicians, all dedicated to advocating for ideas that should have been impossible for people to support. These included weaponized starvation campaigns, gulags, the systemic destruction of minorities, political assassinations, pogroms, and sexual violence, to name just a few. Western supporters of such atrocities demonstrated that one did not need to be a communist or follow every specific communist doctrine to be useful to the cause. All that was required was to believe that the collective good of the cause takes precedence over the individual, and that the broader moral narrative justified the silence and spin given to the smaller atrocities. This pattern should sound familiar to astute readers today, as it did not end with the Cold War. It simply evolved to fit a new language and shifting cultural zeitgeist. From idiot to infidel. Many of these ideas persist in parts of contemporary progressive politics. The notions of Marxist sympathizers found a welcoming home in Western universities and institutions, where they continue to excuse authoritarian movements and downplay their crimes, especially when such alignments serve their greater purpose of opposing and dismantling the fabric of Western civilization, which they see as an exercise of oppressive hegemonic power. A new partner has increasingly emerged as a dominant cultural influence in the West, offering a new cause for the progressive-minded Marxist descendants. This is political Islam. It also aims to undermine the social fabric of the West, but for reasons rooted in its own ideology and Sharia law. However, this has not deterred the useful idiots from championing their cause, effectively turning them into useful infidels. These are individuals who unwittingly support the initial steps of Islamic conquest in the name of freedom. Ironically, they are defending and promoting an ideology that is far more oppressive than any perceived oppression they believe the West displays. A real-life example: never has the foolishness of this alliance been clearer than in the recent terror attacks in New York. On 7th of March, a protest called "Stop the Islamic Takeover of New York City" was held outside the Manhattan residence of New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The expected counter-protesters showed up, a group of Islamists cheered on by the progressive pro-immigration supporters, loudly advocating for the cause of Islam and morally condemning any opposition as racist. During the rally, one protester with a megaphone is delivering an impassioned speech about who belongs in New York, and that people opposing Islam have no right to an opinion on this in New York. At that very moment, a young, radicalized New York Muslim, pledging loyalty to ISIS, interrupted his speech by leaping onto his shoulder, shouting, "Allahu Akbar," as he threw an explosive device at demonstrators. Thankfully, the device malfunctioned, preventing what could have been a deadly attack. The look of confusion on the poor protester's face aptly visualized the intended meaning of the label "useful infidel." The irony of such an incident must not be overlooked, nor should it be dismissed as a one-off event or the action of a few radicals. It is a stark warning that Islamist violence respects no allegiance to its political supporters, contrary to what naive Western activists believe. When the moment arises, there is no distinction between tactical allies and ideological foes. A civilizational moment. There are some difficult choices to make and uncomfortable realities that must be faced head-on if the West is to survive. Author, theologian, and social commentator Os Guinness has described this as a civilizational moment, a crucial turning point, he says. The world is fast approaching the climax of one of the great turning points in history. After 2 millennia of existence and half a millennium of unprecedented dominance, Western civilization is on the wane and the shadows it casts are lengthening. The West has lost its soul, its core beliefs, and its identity, which are undeniably rooted in its Judeo-Christian heritage. Alarmingly, much of the strongest hostility towards the West originates from within. The alliance between progressive liberalism and political Islam, entering a destructive pact, threatens the very foundations of what the West once represented. It aims to dismantle these foundations and reconstruct them in its own image. The useful infidels believe they will create their progressive utopia, but the Islamists, I am confident, have other plans. Guinness says that at a civilizational moment like this, there are 3 options a society can make. They will choose to A. Experience a genuine and profound renewal of their ideas and ideals, B. Replace them with different but equally powerful ideas and ideals, or C. They will decline beyond hope of recovery and take their place as the latest entrant in the select circle of history's former civilizations. The analysis is profoundly accurate for the United Kingdom. Whether the right decisions can be made remains uncertain. It will take courage to stand up and correctly diagnose the collective malady that is causing our decline and to have the resolve to implement the correct solution. Of the 3 options, decline leads only to death. Replacement at this stage would involve adopting a different faith with very different values. So the only way to preserve Western civilization and its freedoms is through genuine and profound renewal. This also requires recognizing that much of the inspiration behind Western civilization has been shaped by Judaism, Christianity, and the Bible. The secular attempt to replace it, Enlightenment rationalism, has failed. Returning to our roots is the only credible course. Dr. Thomas Fretwell, Director, Ezra Foundation.